you keep your baby father from your kids, I think that you should be charged with something, because you're putting your kid at every statistical disadvantage for what?
There we are. Hello. Well, this was a bit unexpected, but I saw something earlier that made me want to do a little bit of digging. And I've done some digging now, and I've got the information I need, and I'm wanting to share it with you. Now, obviously, as we know, statistics, stats can tell two stories. But I think the stories it tells in this situation it's night and day. So what I'm looking at is how good are the mums, the single mums who alienate the fathers. There are stats out there that show some alarming, some shocking figures actually, that if I don't understand how it's been allowed to continue. So let me just say, until recently, single parenthood was viewed by society as a large hallmark of a failure of marriage. Now it seems to be common practice, especially in the millennials. The latest single parent statistics, however, have offered insights into how highly polarized the debate can be, breaking the stereotypical norms and the long list of life solo parenting. The children still get stigmatized. They suffer emotionally. They suffer psychologically. Educationally, they're suffering. In every single way, they suffer. It's also been drawn into comparison about how youth incarceration basically going to prison. There's a parallel between the young people going to prison, they grew up in fatherless homes, and I think it was 76% of young people in prison these days have been in England and Wales have had absent fathers. That was from 2013, if I remember correctly. I think in terms of women, I think there's quite a deficit in terms of how not having a father in their lives impacts them. They have self-esteem issues, more likely to have eating disorders, sexual activity earlier, so they get promiscuous earlier because they don't have a father figure to control them or lead them the right way, make sure they're not doing anything silly, which obviously can lead to pregnancy. Girls are more prone to depression and then attracting the wrong type of man because all they've seen is the relationship they've got with their parents, that they've seen their parents in. Just about 3 million children living in a lone parent household in the UK. That's from 2019 statistics. 1.1 million children in the UK are growing up without a father. Yeah, that's from 2017 figures. 51 billion in economic cost of family breakdown in 2018. 51 billion. It's so important that our young people have an active father in their lives to help encourage and support them during what is the most critical and arguably the influential time of their lives, anyone's life, as well as the growing up. Until our young people become responsible adults at the age of 21, they're really classed as highly vulnerable. You may not see that be true, but I think it's a fair cop. I think that's a really good way of looking at it. In terms of criminal activity, you're going to go through Boys are more likely to be in gangs and looking for their father figure and looking to be the role model. This is interesting. So in the UK, there were 2.45 million single mothers compared to 0.4 million single fathers. 32% of families with children in the UK have been a single parent at some point. 24% of those households in the UK with children reported to be single parent households. 24%, that's nearly a quarter of the households in England. This obviously is not always going to be when the mother is alienating the father. I'm not naive to that. Some dads will get someone pregnant and just disappear and ghost the woman and never be seen again. And these women have to unintentionally bring up these children by themselves. Now, no one's saying that's their fault. Equally, there's a large amount of women that are making the conscious choice to alienate the father from the life of the children, therefore choosing to bring up the child single-handedly, knowing that these stats are out there for everyone to see, yet still choosing to disadvantage their children. And as said, there needs to be a consequence, a crime, if you're keeping your baby away from the father. Because you're putting that child, any way you look at it, at a statistical disadvantage. Now think about this. These are key stats on now. 90% of single parent households are headed by women. 90%. So when you've got a man that's doing a household thing and holding up the family, I salute that, because it's 10%, very, very, very unlikely. It's 90%, 63% of youth suicides, 63% of youth suicide are from single mother homes. 80% of homeless and runaway children are from single mother homes. 71% of high school dropouts are from where? Single mother homes. %70 of all users operating institutions have been single mother homes. 80% of all people in prison, generally men in prison, have come from single parent homes, single mother homes. 80% of children show behaviour disorders or eating disorders. 85% of children, eating disorders, behaviour disorders, have come from single mother homes. %80 of children with anger problems have come from single mother homes. These are the core stats there, right? Now, people are going to watch this and be like, oh, that's because there's not as much men doing it. You've got a point. So why don't you let us try? Mothers are intentionally putting your child, every child who is in a single parent home, at a statistical disadvantage when you choose to be a single mother, when you choose to be. I know there's women out there that don't choose to be. But ultimately, the stats speak for themselves. There's research is coming through now. It could be more heavily researched, granted, but it's coming through. Now, one thing I want to highlight, and I'm going to be clear with this as well. You get good men, you get bad men. You get good women, you get bad women. I'm not making this about the gender. I'm clearly making it about a gender point here because the stats are there to be seen and to be scrutinised. Dads have different parenting styles to mothers. There's a lot less dads than mothers being able to parent full stop because the mothers are not letting them. If you watch this as a mother and you feel aggrieved by something I've said, and you're not letting your partner, ex-partner, see his children, I'm fine with you disliking me. I hope I've touched a nerve because your children are going to be damaged, and then you are the one that's damaging your children. And you will say that you're protecting your children from him, but really you're causing more damage to the child than what you could imagine. And then you'll blame the father anyway, because no doubt you're the type of person that doesn't take responsibility, doesn't own their actions. It will always be somebody else's fault. When was the last time you said sorry for anything? When was the last time you saw the world from your child's eyes? When was the last time you made a sacrifice and a compromise that didn't benefit you, that you weren't doing just to benefit yourself, make it look like you were benefiting the other person? If you well and truly do love your children, and I will say it again, you will not be arguing with each other. I got a challenge yesterday when I said this, and I say it a lot. Two parents conflicting, whether one person is conflicted and the other person is on the receiving end of it, you're both guilty. The moment you participate in it, you're guilty. If you walk away and say nothing, it's not your fault. As far as I'm concerned, you're not participating. But as soon as you participate in the argument, you are culpable, you are guilty. Therefore, both parents are guilty of child abuse. Any conflict that takes place in front of a child is emotional and psychological harm, therefore child abuse. If you have two parents that literally love their children and both parents are at war, whether one person not able to talk to the other, in my instance, in my case, that's it. I don't have no animosity or hate towards my ex-wife or anyone, but she chooses not to speak to me unless in a family court. But she's a religious person, taking my daughter to Catholic school. She loves her daughter, apparently, which I'm sure she does in her own way. But seriously, the damage these people are doing to their children, and then they'll blame who? Us, the men, the dads. It will be our fault. I'm used to that. It's the other men that aren't, because they won't all take responsibility for things that I carry my ex-wife's burden of blame. I carry that for my daughter, so she doesn't have to. I do that for my ex-wife as well, I suppose. She doesn't appreciate it, but my daughter does. And that's why I do it. .2% of single mothers and their children are living in poverty. .90% of homeless single mothers have been victims of abuse, as per single parent statistics. They will call out the abuse, and I'm not going to deny it. There is abuse that goes on, and it's not going to be every single man. She's lying. Do you expect? And anyone comes to me and says to me, there was no domestic abuse in our relationship, you're talking shit. Don't come and say that to me. Every relationship has a level of domestic abuse within it. Whether you're getting dragged down the shops and you don't want to be dragged down the shops, or whether you're dragging her down the shops when you don't want to be dragged, she doesn't want to be dragged down the shops. That's abuse. It's coercive controlling behaviour, but it's a healthy level of abuse. And then you get to the toxic, unhealthy level at the other end. So every relationship has domestic abuse in it. It's just important to remember that when you are in a heated moment, rather than retaliate or respond, just don't. If your children are there, in fact, just don't, full stop. Don't play the games, play by your rules, not anybody else's. On that note, you've made it this far. I've gone on longer than what I intended. And I'll say peace and love. Lara's love.